The MD-80 program officially began in 1977, with McDonnell Douglas aiming to evolve its successful DC-9 family for the emerging 1980s market. At first glance, the aircraft appeared deceptively familiar, a fuselage stretched by roughly 14 feet over the DC-9-30, a redesigned tail cone, and rear-mounted JT-8D-200 engines. To many airline executives, it seemed like a minor incremental update rather than a game-changing aircraft. Its first flight on October 18, 1979, did little to change that perception. The aircraft looked like a long DC-9 rather than a new generation of jetliner. Airlines initially approached the MD-80 with caution. American Airlines, which had long been a DC-9 operator, understood the value of commonality, but remained focused on its fleet of Boeing 727s and early 737s. Delta, Northwest, and TWA, all major domestic carriers, were weighing the emerging generation of fuel-efficient aircraft from Boeing and Airbus. Analysts questioned whether the MD-80 could compete effectively with the 737-200 and the 737-300, which promised modernized systems, improved fuel efficiency, and lower acquisition costs. Early criticisms of the MD-80 focused heavily on operational economics. The JT-8D-200 engines, while reliable and proven, were noisier than the CFM56 engines starting to appear on Boeing 737s and Airbus A300s. Fuel consumption per seat mile was higher than some newer narrowbodies, and the aircraft's slightly larger size and stretched fuselage meant longer turnaround times at busy airports. For airlines operating in a competitive domestic market where every cycle counted, these factors initially outweighed the aircraft's benefits.
Despite the skepticism, there were specific features that began to draw attention. Piedmont Airlines and Swissair were early adopters, appreciating the MD-80's ability to operate efficiently on medium-density routes, especially those with multiple daily rotations. The cockpit retained much of the DC-9's layout, minimizing the training burden for pilots already familiar with the fleet. Maintenance crews benefited from the same continuity. Most systems were conventional, accessible, and well-documented, reducing the learning curve and spare parts complexity. The MD-80 also possessed structural and aerodynamic improvements over the DC-9. Its T-tail design reduced interference drag and improved handling at lower speeds, while the slightly longer fuselage allowed for 10 to 15 more passengers without compromising range. The rear-mounted engines, often criticized at first for their noise, provided clean wing aerodynamics and improved short-field performance, crucial for secondary airports and slot-restricted hubs. Orders accumulated slowly but strategically. By the mid-1980s, carriers like Swissair, Delta, and Finnair had recognized that the MD-80's combination of reliability, short-field capability, and pilot commonality could solve operational challenges they were facing, particularly on medium-haul, high-frequency routes. Yet in the broader narrative of 1980s commercial aviation, the MD-80 remained overshadowed by the Boeing 737, the DC-9's original competitor, and the emerging A320 program.
By the early 1980s, the MD-80 faced widespread skepticism from airlines, analysts, and aviation enthusiasts alike. It was seen by many as a simple evolution of the DC-9, stretched, heavier, and carrying more passengers, but with few of the performance improvements that were driving the excitement around competing jets. Yet beneath this surface perception lay a series of operationally significant features that would allow the aircraft to survive decades of market change. Central to this longevity was its engine placement and airframe design. The rear-mounted Pratt & Whitney JT-8D engines, while not cutting-edge by contemporary standards, offered consistent thrust, durability under repeated short-haul cycles, and relative tolerance to foreign object ingestion, a crucial factor for operations at less developed or rough-field airports. The engine's configuration reduced wing-mounted stress and simplified wing design, allowing for a robust airframe that was both lightweight and easy to maintain. The MD-80's simplicity extended beyond engines. Its systems architecture retained much of the DC-9's proven design philosophy: accessible hydraulics, straightforward electrical routing, and components that could be serviced with minimal tooling.
For airlines operating in dense domestic networks, this meant quicker turnaround times between flights and reduced delays from maintenance issues. Pilots benefited from cockpit commonality, with control layouts, instrument placement, and flight handling characteristics closely mirroring the DC-9 series. Airlines with large DC-9 fleets could integrate MD-80s with minimal retraining, preserving operational efficiency while expanding capacity. Operational versatility was equally critical. The MD-80 excelled on short and medium-haul routes, carrying 155 to 172 passengers over distances of 1,500 to 2,000 nautical miles efficiently, matching the demands of high-frequency, medium-density U.S. domestic routes. Its performance in slot-limited or constrained airports like Washington Reagan National, LaGuardia, or Chicago Midway proved invaluable, as the aircraft could operate reliably with high utilization under tight scheduling constraints. Additionally, it adapted well to varied climate conditions and altitude ranges, performing consistently in hot and high environments such as Phoenix, cold northern airports like Minneapolis, and high-altitude operations in Denver, showing resilience where other aircraft were either restricted or underpowered. As the 1980s progressed, the jetliner market introduced newer, more fuel-efficient aircraft, including the Boeing 737-300-400 and Airbus A320. Yet, despite the allure of these modern aircraft, airlines continued operating the MD-80 for hard economic reasons. Acquisition costs for modern jets were high, often exceeding $25 to $30 million per aircraft, while the MD-80's residual value remained low, allowing airlines to operate it cheaply over long periods. The total cost of ownership, including pilot training, spare parts, and ground support adaptations, often favored keeping MD-80s active on established networks. Slot-limited airports further emphasize the MD-80's economic advantage. Its short-field capabilities allowed high-frequency operations without sacrificing payload, while larger or newer jets were constrained by runway lengths or airport infrastructure. Fleet standardization amplified these savings. Airlines with extensive DC-9 MD-80 fleets leveraged economies of scale in maintenance, spare parts, and crew training, reducing operational disruptions that would accompany transitioning to newer aircraft. The aircraft's reliability and predictability meant airlines could schedule tighter rotations, maintaining high aircraft utilization, a critical factor in cost management for medium-density routes. The operational niche the MD-80 filled was largely invisible to casual observers. While contemporary jets offered superior speed, range, and fuel efficiency for large markets, they often proved overpowered, inefficient, or too costly on secondary routes, small airports, or regional networks. The MD-80's combination of adequate speed, payload, and operational flexibility made it economically superior in these contexts. Airlines understood that the good enough MD-80 could outperform a perfect newer jet when cost, flexibility, and infrastructure compatibility were considered. The MD-80's story underscores a key lesson in commercial aviation. Longevity is often the product of niche optimization rather than raw innovation. Its fleet gradually contracted only as airlines transitioned to more fuel-efficient alternatives, but the type survived nearly 4 decades in service, remarkable for any jetliner in the competitive, cost-conscious airline industry. Its persistence illustrates how aircraft that are functionally sufficient, operationally versatile, and economically sensible can endure far beyond initial expectations.